welcome to my channel. So today's video is all about drafting the pattern for these plunging neckline corset dress, and also how I draped the bra cup. So a friend of mine wanted me to make a dress like this, so I couldn't document the whole process of making the dress. I just showed you what I could show you. That's drafting the pattern, also draping the bra cup. So please, if you haven't subscribed yet, do so. It's totally free, and also like my video. So these are the materials I use, and these are the measurements I use. I also use the bra cup to create my the bra curve for the bra cup. So you should check out my last video. I did the same. I used the same method to create the bra cup. So what I did first was to create a structure on my pattern paper by going down 1 inch and up 1 inch. I started by marking out the vertical measurement, which is the length. I marked out 3 inches, which will be used for the yoke. That's the mesh net, the initial net. The next step was to mark out the armhole depth. The armhole depth is 17 inches divided by 2. I also added 1.5 inches, which is for the slant. I have a video where I give this formula. You should check that out too. So you mark. I also mark out the 1 inch to the armhole depth measurement. The next step is to mark the bust measurement, which is 13.5 inches. I forgot to include the underbust measurement on the measurement paper, which I did. The next step is to mark out the back waist measurement, which is 16 inches. In case if you're making a top, you also mark out the top measurement, the top length, which is 19 inches. I just marked that out because I'm just going to show you from the up part of the dress. I'm not going to show you the bottom part of the dress. So I just marked that 19 inches to show that it's like a top, stops at the tummy. The hip length is 25 inches. The next step was to draw lines to indicate the points of this vertical measurements. Same as the neck length, I marked out 3 inches for the neck width. I also marked 8 inches for the back width. That's 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches. Mark that out on the armhole depth. This serves as a guideline to create the curve, the armhole curve. So I connected the 2 points. To create the neck curve, I marked the 3 inches on the neckline and connected the point. You should check out my video on how I made my bodice. I used this method to create the neck curve. So I went in half an inch and I went up there, that's the width. I went down quarter of an inch, and this serves as a guideline to create the neck curve. So please check out my video on how to make your bodice block. The next step was to mark out the shoulder slant, which is 1.5 inches. The shoulder slant I already marked that out on the armhole depth, so I just took that out there and connected the point to the neck point. So I got the midpoint of the armhole depth and marked that, and also went in 1/4 inch. This helps to create the curve. On the length there, the armhole length, I went up 1 inch. This also is a guideline to create the curve. That's the armhole curve. So before creating the armhole curve, I have to mark out the bust, quarter of the bust measurement. So the bust measurement is 35.5 divided by 4. I marked out, I used my tape to get the measurement by dividing it into 4 and marking that out. So here I go trying to create the curve for the armhole. To create the V neckline, that's the plunging neckline, I went down from the under bust 1 inch. This is where I started creating the cup curve, and that is where the cup was set to. I connected the point to the neck width. The next step is to mark the bust distance. The bust distance is 4 inches. I marked that all the way down to the hip point and drew a straight line connecting all the points. On the waistline, I marked half inch on both sides. I connected that point. I connected the point up to the under bust, just like so. So I went down 5 inches to close the dots. So if you're making the skirt part of the dress, you just have to continue from the waist or from the top length down, creating your skirt part of the dress. So I used the bra cup to create the bra curve on the pattern paper. So I just placed it. You can place it higher, lower. I just looked for like a middle ground for it. I just placed it on the underbust line. It has to be on the underbust line, and a little slanty, making it go a little bit high on the armhole depth, above the armhole depth line. So I went down half an inch just to connect, to give that ease connecting it to the armhole. So I went down half an inch and connected that just to create that curve and the ease there. Next step is to mark out the other measurement. That's the waist measurement and the hip measurement. So the waist measurement plus, that's 29 inches divided by 4, plus 1 inch for the dart, and the hip measurement. This will help me create the side measurement for the top. So the hip measurement is 42 divided by 2. So I marked that out and connected all the points. So what I did was to cut out the front top pattern as a whole and use it to trace the back pattern. So I didn't cut any shape out. I just folded the structure I created at the back and just traced that out. So after doing that, I just cut out the shape of the top pattern, the front top pattern. It's label it so you know the pieces, the pattern pieces. That's the yoke and the rest. So I marked out the bust distance, which is 4 inches, and on both sides I also marked that out on the armhole depth. On both sides I went in half an inch, which this allowance has already been created while tracing the front pattern. So down I went 1/4 inch because of the little space that will be left there when connecting the dart to the 5 inches length for the darts, remember. So there'll be a little tiny space there, so I just used a 1/4 inch. I connected this point and connected it down to the armhole depth. On the center back I went down 1 inch and connected from that 1 inch up mark there, creating the curve for the armhole. I connected the point there. So for the neck length I went down 1 inch and connected that point by creating a curve, the neck curve. So the back design, that's the yoke design, can go two ways: either an open back with a hook, or just a slant that's from the back, from the neck width down to the armhole depth. So I went in half an inch. That this is like an opening for the lace back, for the back. So I also went where the length and the width meets, that's the armhole depth. I just went slightly up, like 1/4 inch, and recreated the armhole curve. It's very important to label your pattern paper. So the 1/2 inch point there, I just rolled that out straight down. This is going to be cut out as the opening for the back. So also before cutting out my pattern, yeah, I went down from the actual design I wanted. I went down from the neck width down, like a little bit slanty a bit, yeah, just like so, and clean out the initial design I made to the actual design I wanted, and cut out the pattern. So the first one, the yoke and the side. So that is it for the pattern. Why now for the sleeve? I have done I have showed you how to make sleeve. Like, go watch that video. I'm going to put it on the screen for you to check out the video on how to create a sleeve. So I just folded the paper into two so I can get that line there, that straight line there. So what I did was to mark out the cap height, which is 5 inches. So check out the video so you know how to get your cap height. It's 5 inches. After marking out the cap height, I went on both sides, the biceps, which is 12.5 inches. So I just went on both sides and marked the. So this is not a detailed video on how to get the sleeve. It's just showing you what I did. So you should watch the video to get the details on how to create a sleeve. So I marked that out, and also for the length of the sleeve, I marked that out, divided into two, and marked that out and connected the points just like so. So watch the video if you want to know how to create your sleeve. It's very helpful. So from the top part there, I just made a triangular shape connecting the points. Yeah. So I also got in the midpoint of those shapes there, the triangle shapes. I got the midpoint and also got the midpoint of the midpoints. So I did same for the other side. So for the first point there, I went up 1 inch, I went down 1/2 inch. For the other side, I went down 1/4 inch, and I went up on the other side 1/2 inch, and I just created a curve connecting those points. I had to take my time creating the curve. I was looking too lumpy, so I had to like take my time to recreate the curve. And I cut the pattern out. Now to create the cover for the bra cup, I have done this in my last video on how to make a basque corset top. I have done this method, so I'm going to put the link of the video for you to check that out. So what I did was just to wrap sellotape around the cup to create that cup shape and draw on it. So this time around I'm just using the center, I'm just using a two-cut shape. A two-cut cup shape. It's just a cover to cover the bra cup, so it's nothing more than a cover. I don't need much design on the bra cup. So what I did after marking the cup shape, I just cut out the excess tape just like that and folded it to get the midpoint of the bra cup, because I just needed 2 cuts on it, just 2 cuts, not 3 cuts. The one I did, the last video, I did 3 cuts. So I just rolled a straight line connecting those points there. After doing that, I just peeled it off the bra cup. It's very sticky, so I peeled it off and cut out the line there. You can see I have a bra cup. I'm going to show you how to make different ways you can make bra cups in probably another video, not my next video. I have something to make my next video. So I just cut that out and trace the shape. After cutting out, I just placed it, the gluey part or the gummy part, and create the shape. Don't forget it's very sticky and it will just rip the pattern paper off. Oh yeah, I added the sewing allowance to the shape, to the bra cup shape. So if you're following, just use whatever sewing allowance you can eyeball while sewing. You cannot use 1 inch sewing allowance and you ended up sewing half an inch, and then it will be excess. So whatever sewing allowance that you can eyeball while sewing, fine, use it. So here I used half an inch, which I think is too much, but I just used that. This is all for drafting the pattern. So if you enjoyed this video, just pause and like the video, subscribe if you haven't done so, please. It's totally free. Okay, I think I've said that before. It's totally free, just subscribe. So fast forward to draping. I cut out the pattern pieces, yeah, you can see that. Then I started draping. This draping, oops, oh my gosh, it took me like forever. If you're charging, if you charge 1,000 naira per hour, I think you need to increase it to like 1.5 per hour, because you're going to use like 24 hours or 48 hours to make this outfit. So you know how much you're charging for this. So if you check out the drape of the bra cup, it went down, then the second draping part, as for the slant part, went up. So I'm going down. You can decide on the size you want. If you want 1 inch drape, or if you want it so tiny, like 1/4 of an inch drape, whichever you prefer. So this is how I draped the cup, pinning on both sides, drape one side, pin on both sides, and I tried to smoothen it out because it was rough. I had to like dry. Okay, I got poked so many times, like the needles were just piercing into my skin. So you have to be careful with the needles. I don't think there's any amount of care you take that this needle won't poke you. So bad, I have to say this. Like I was so careful, but it was just poking me. So watch how I drape. I can't explain this part, I just have to show you. It's not something I can explain. So you can either, what I can say is that you can either use half an inch or quarter of an inch for the draping. Quarter of an inch, it takes you more time because you have to smoothen everything out, because it's a curve, the cup is curvy and deep, so you have to go with the flow and look at it and see if you like it. So I'll just leave you to watch this part, and this is like the final part of this video. So if you want me to show you how I made like the top with the net, the illusion net, the skin net, you should just comment down and I will do a video of that, maybe without making the pattern, so it will be faster and quicker. So watch this to the end, like my video, share my video. You don't know who wants to see this, so share it. Whatever platform you're using, just share the video. Thank you in advance for everything. So see you in my next video, which is very soon, because I have something to make soon. So thank you for watching. Bye. Watch to the end, don't leave, watch to the end. Bye.